We appreciate the hard work, honor those who've traveled with us, and recognize the challenges and the changes and the growth in ourselves. And looking forward, I think we're facing all sorts of unknown and new challenges that will test us, but it would surely bring out the best of our ingenuity and our humanity. So, with these words, I would say that we are recording this event. I want to welcome you, but I think since we're recording, in order to reduce the ambient noise, I'm asking you to mute your mics, and I will let you know later on when it's time to unmute and cheer and applaud. So first, I would like to introduce Professor Jan Radway, Director of Gender and Sexuality Studies, for her opening remarks. Hi, Jan.
Hi, thank you, Tessie. Hi, everyone. As Tessie said, I'm Jan Radway, Director of the Gender and Sexuality Studies program. Before I formally welcome all of you to this gathering and say something in honor of all of our students, but especially in recognition of our graduating seniors, I want to convey the program's sincere thanks to Tessie, Director of Undergraduate Studies, to Elliot Colin, GSS Program Assistant, and to Caslin Ostrander, Program Assistant for SPAN, the Sexualities Project at Northwestern. They have worked together with great creativity to make it possible for us to hold this version of our annual awards ceremony and end of the year gathering. Always a joyous occasion in the life of the program, this event is our way of recognizing the achievements and contributions of our students, not only to GSS itself, but also to Northwestern and to the larger community. We especially take heart in honoring the dedication and commitment to social justice that GSS students just demonstrate year in and year out. So although this year has been very different and exceedingly difficult, we know, for many of you, we are grateful for the opportunities to see you all, even if only virtually. It really is great to see you all arrayed before us. Today, we want to applaud you and your achievements, and to thank you for your extraordinary resilience and devotion to political activism, which you have shown not only this year, but throughout your time at Northwestern. I do not want to detract from this moment of celebration, nor cast a shadow on what should be your time to shine in the light of your achievements and the opportunity to bask in the pride of your family and friends, as well as your teachers. But the gravity of the current moment weighs upon all of us and requires both acknowledgement and response. What we want you to know is through it all, in the last 10 days since the brutal and sadistic murder of George Floyd, in the last 3 months since the uneven effects of the global pandemic have weighed more heavily on Black and Brown people, over the course of the last 4 years, since the election of a man who within the first month of his term signed an executive order banning so-called foreign nationals from 7 predominantly Muslim countries from visiting the US and prevented refugees from entering the country. Through all of this, you and your generation have inspired us with your outrage and your willingness to act on that outrage. As a result, you have kindled glimmers of hope within all of us. You have also pressed upon us that we must work harder and do more with greater commitment to ensure that real structural change is enacted and that anti-Blackness and all forms of racism, along with transphobia, misogyny, xenophobia, ageism, and ableism, are not perpetuated through silence, distraction, or inaction. You and your generation have helped us to see that we must attend not only to the deaths, but also to the lives of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, Philando Castile, Sandra Bland, Renisha McBride, Laquan McDonald, Freddie Gray, Trayvon Martin, Rekia Boyd, Amadou Diallo, Abner Louima, Tony McDade, Dustin Parker, Nina Pop, and all those countless others who over the decades and even centuries have been accosted for supposedly being different, violated because of the color of their skin, subordinated, maimed, and killed so that others might profit or pretend to feel more secure. Black lives matter. Today, we want to applaud you for your willingness to protest against such conditions and for your courage in calling all of us to account for the ways in which we still fail to measure up to the overwhelming need to change how we live and teach now. We have been stirred by student activism around the 50th anniversary of the 1968 takeover of the bursar's office at Northwestern and around the departmentalization of Latino and Latina studies and Asian American studies. We've been impressed by student mobilization on behalf of Northwestern's food workers. GSS students were involved too in activities around the 30th anniversary of the Women's Center and have continued to work on behalf of hashtag Black Lives Matter, Say Her Name, Black Trans Lives Matter, and the Black Experience at Northwestern. Most recently, we have been moved by the participation of GSS students, both undergraduate and graduate, in crafting detailed demands delivered to the Northwestern administration about investing in life-giving institutions and divesting in law enforcement. We've also been moved by the activism of our students on behalf of trans and non-binary people everywhere, and the role they have played in pushing the university to convene the genderqueer, non-binary, transgender task force under the direction of two of our GSS advisory board members, Hector Carrillo and Sekile Musunga. Today, we want you to know that your activism has made us understand that we have to listen more acutely and in more sustained fashion. With your collective work and spirit in mind then, the GSS Advisory Board will be convening next week to discuss how we can respond with actual concrete steps to the demands articulated in the Trans Task Force report. We will also be discussing how to better foreground in our courses and programming the trans historical, national, and transnational histories of anti-Blackness and all forms of racism, and the ways they intersect with the construction of genders and sexualities. There is much to do, but we want you to know that together you have lighted the way, and we are grateful for all that we have learned from you. In honor of your achievements and the role you have played within GSS at Northwestern and throughout the community, the members of the advisory board have made contributions in the name of the class of 2020 to a range of organizations committing to ending structural racism, economic deprivation, and white supremacy, and to the cause of social justice. We understand that every one of us must do our part to ensure that what the Reverend Al Sharpton said yesterday at the memorial service for George Floyd is true. We must together make sure that it is a different time and a different season. In closing, I simply want to add that with great admiration, we extend our warmest congratulations to each and every one of the seniors. Now I want to turn it back to Tessie.
Thank you, Jan. I hope you saw the list. That's just a provisional list of all the places that you've inspired us to donate to. You've offered us a lot of words and kind words to think about and carry us through the rest of our day and weeks. We turn next to honoring the seniors. First, I want to say that those of you who joined us at the Seniors Thesis Forum will recall that we heard two really awesome presentations from our two senior thesis writers for this year. Eliza Levy presented on her thesis, The Ethics of State-Sponsored Monitoring, How Gender, Sexuality, and Class Shape the Citizenship of Welfare Mothers. Maya Glenn presented on her thesis, Black Queer Women's Articulation of Masculinity and Femininity on YouTube. Now, I want to share with you some words from the on behalf of the Honors Committee. Here I'm borrowing with true attribution, Professor Nick Davis's write-up for the honors thesis, because he can put it so much better than I can. So the GSS Honors Committee was very impressed by both of this year's senior theses and eagerly recommend both Maya and Eliza to WCAS for official honors. In Maya's case, we took particular note of the vigor she demonstrated in constructing an original archive of YouTube videos that were by no means pre-collated on her behalf and can often defy standard research protocols. Even better are her sharp critical eye and keen intuition for discursive, visual, and political nuance in the YouTubers' often fluid self-representations, their relations to others, and their articulations of past and present identities and experiences. Maya shows a lucid, sophisticated eloquence in the way she characterizes existing theories and prior scholarships relevant to her study. She is just as persuasive when marshaling her own original voice as in the fine-grained definition of authenticity she deploys as her key heuristic for describing and theorizing these testimonies. In Eliza's case, the committee noted how industriously her thesis surveyed the wide swath of legal rulings around notorious broad issues of privacy, equity, poverty, and autonomy, especially when they concern the diversely intersected and frequently unmet needs of women, and even more especially mothers in need of state support that they have every right to ask. The thesis offers detailed accounts of not only the salient facts and rulings in each case, but a cogent sense of why these rulings collectively matter in constructing the legal rights of American citizens. In sum, we salute, this is the Honors Committee speaking, in sum, we salute both of these projects as well as their authors. And while the real credit of these terrific theses go to Maya and Eliza, we join them in offering thanks to Scott Delorio, Jennifer Nash, and Dominique Adam Santos for the expertise they shared and for their deft, engaged, and sympathetic counsel. Now, each year, GSS awards the Betty Jo Teeter Dobbs Prize for an outstanding senior thesis. This year's prize is awarded to Maya Glenn. The committee commends Maya for assembling a digital media archive from which further explorations will follow. The project brings new voices and new stories, innovative deployments of gendered and racialized selves to feminist scholarship and to intersectional analysis. Congratulations, Maya, and many felicitations to both Eliza and Maya. So next, we would like to honor our graduating majors and minors. Now, in the past couple of weeks, we've been bugging you for photographs and for quotes. Since we can't award you our GSS pins, we would like to applaud you as you cross our screen. Now, please unmute. This is the time to clap. And if you have other kinds of noisemakers like mine.
Bravo, bravo.
Okay, please feel free to make use. Please join me in clapping for the graduating seniors.
Bravo, Ellison. Bravo. Iwan, ano rin naman? Bravo! Bravo, Maya! Bravo, Max! Bravo, Bravo, you guys. Bravo, Emily. Bravo. Bravo, Nadia. Bravo, Bravo, Jeremiah. Bravo, Emily. Bravo, Danny. Bravo, Alex. Bravo, Eric. Bravo, Sam.
Good.
Bravo, Bravo,
Congratulations.
Besos.
Now, we can't stop here. We have to clap and applaud Elliot and Caslin, who do So, we continue. Please mute again. We continue with more senior prizes and program prizes. I'd like to introduce Professor Amy Partridge, Associate Director of GSS, who will present them. Amy?
Yes, hi everybody. So I'm going to give you a chance to applaud at the end. But for now, we'll hold our applause. The first prize I'm going to present is the Ray Arlene Moses Leadership Award in Gender and Sexuality Studies, which is presented each spring to a graduating senior in the program who has fostered initiatives and demonstrated leadership within the classroom, on campus, and in the community. And here's where you're going to hold your applause, but I'll give you a chance at the end. I'm delighted to present the award this year to Adam Davies. I know you want to applaud, but we'll come back to that. Each year, we call on the GSS community to nominate a graduating senior for the award. Adam Davies was nominated for the Moses Leadership Award this year by the entire community, by their peers, by their teachers, and by faculty, graduate, and undergraduate students who have worked alongside Adam as campus activists and advocates across a myriad of projects. All testified to Adam's tireless, steadfast, and vital leadership at Northwestern, particularly in advocating for the rights and needs of genderqueer, non-binary, and transgender communities. During their tenure at Northwestern, Adam has held leadership positions in a number of student groups and served as a student representative on the LGBTQ Advisory Board. Last year, Adam also served as a member of the genderqueer, non-binary, and trans task force that brought together over 60 members of the campus community, faculty, students, and staff, and issued important recommendations for systemic and university-wide initiatives in their report published in September of this year. Those who worked alongside Adam during this year-long effort laud Adam for being, quote, one of the topmost coordinators and drivers of the whole initiative, whose, quote, contributing ideas are pervasive across the task force report. This year, Adam was elected Executive Vice President of Associated Student Government, or ASG. In an interview with the Daily Northwestern announcing their candidacy in April of last year, Adam described their goals as a student representative this way, quote, our overwhelming theme is finding ways to bring justice and a voice to people who are marginalized on campus. That could be space allocation for dance groups, or a house for LGBTQ students, or course affordability so that everyone can take the courses they need to take on campus, unquote. This spring, Adam's peers and colleagues at Northwestern wrote to us to describe the huge impact of Adam's leadership as ASG Vice President, pointing to Adam's, quote, solidarity and support during moments of campus turmoil, their commitment to, quote, centering the experiences of marginalized students, and their, quote, collaboration with staff and administrators to create new systems to support trans and non-binary students. Indeed, as one of the nominating letters put it, Adam has, quote, galvanized students, faculty, and staff across campus, and has, without a doubt, changed Northwestern's community for the better, shifting conversations and policies towards making Northwestern a safer, more accessible, inclusive, and welcoming university. So now if you can unmute, and please join me in thanking, celebrating, and congratulating Adam Davies.
Bravo,
Bravo.
Adam. Chiquibun, chiquibun para mi mamá. Thank you.
And it's also my honor and delight to award the George C. Casey Prize this year. The George C. Casey Prize awards $300 for the best undergraduate essay on any topic relating to the situation of gender and society. Papers written in any course, in any department or program within the university are eligible for this prize. I want to begin by mentioning two honorable mentions this year. The first is Meg Young's paper, Rape, Trauma, Syndrome, and the Pathologization of Sexual Assault, written for Stephen Epstein's course, Race, Gender, Sex, and Science, Making Identities and Differences. The second honorable mention goes to Sam Juen for her paper, Love's Cure, or the Early Modern Sex and Gender Ed, written for Jeff Maston's Early Modern Sexualities course. And now I would like to also announce and congratulate the winner of this year's Casey Prize, Hannah Green, for her paper, Embodying Racism, How Racial Disparities in Infant Mortality Demand an Expanded Understanding of Reproduction, which was written in the course Reproductive Health, Politics, and Justice, a course that I taught this past winter. So it gives me great, great pleasure to award the Casey Prize to Hannah Green. I'll say just a few words about the paper. In this remarkable paper, Hannah begins by chronicling what we know about Black infant death and the outrageous racial disparities in infant mortality rates in the US at present. Her central concern, though, is with how these disparities have been accounted for and explained. Making use of Laura Briggs's recent book, How All Politics Became Reproductive Politics, and recent reports issued by Sister Song Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collective and the Black Mamas Matter Alliance, Hannah deftly details all the ways in which this case, these facts, demand that we expand how we reconceptualize or how we conceptualize reproduction itself. And I wanna also mention what Hannah will be doing this summer. Hannah will be working as a public health doing public health research at Northwestern's Feinberg School of Medicine with Dr. Lin Yi in the OBGYN department. The project she will be working on looks at the role of patient advocates in alleviating health disparities for low-income women in their first year postpartum. Patient advocates are predominantly used in oncology, but this project hopes to highlight their potential in obstetrics and gynecology to ameliorate gaps in the healthcare system and connect women to resources in their community. So please unmute and join me in congratulating Meg, Sam, and Hannah.
Bravo!
Bravo.
Yay! Congratulations! Awesome. Oi, que bonitas. Congratulations.
So thanks, Amy. I am now going to introduce Elliot Collin, our bestest program assistant, who will acknowledge the students who worked for us as work study students. Elliot?
Yeah, I just want to give a quick shout out to our work study students who, you know, we sure ended the year in a different place than where we started. So yeah, just want to give a quick, very heartfelt thanks to Jacob, Jenna, and Maggie.
Thanks, Elliot. And now I would like to introduce Professor Paula Zamperini, Director of Graduate Studies, who will preside over the graduate portion of our event. Paula?
Well, thank you. And I just want to say, first of all, how lovely it is to see so many of you who I haven't seen in weeks, months. I'm so happy and excited and honored. And I wrote a very long speech 5 times and I trashed it. And so I thought I would just share with you some images and inspiring words to recognize mostly and acknowledge the contributions of so many among you who have made this challenging year a bearable year. So let me share my screen with you. So it was maybe 13 months ago that I was asked by the interim director of Gender and Sexuality Studies, Mary Dietz, if I would consider being the interim DGS for Gender and Sexuality Studies since Jen Nash was going on leave. And I said, oh yes, of course, I'll do it. And then I immediately became petrified at the thought of stepping into Jen's shoes, albeit only for 1 year. And then I attended a year almost to this day, last year's ceremony. And thanks to the amazing work and wonderful generosity of Amy, Nick, Jen portrayed in this picture, and also of Mary and everybody there, I thought, okay, I will be okay. I will be all right. I can do this. And in many ways, I was so inspired by my work with the graduate students in the graduate colloquium, both in the fall and the winter, and also with all the amazing graduate students who responded to my call for bureaucratization and organization, which I thought would be a gift to Jen Nash when she came back to Northwestern after her year of leave. And then, of course, sure enough, by the time February came around, I was devastated at the news that Jen would not be coming back. But surely enough, the pandemic and all that ensued made sure that I would not be as distressed at the thought of Jen Nash not coming back, though I'm still sad. And I just want to say, you know, while we cannot plan for tragedies and disasters, I think I lucked out with the amazing companions that I got to travel through these amazingly enriching but also incredibly difficult months. And I just want to acknowledge the 4 amazing GSS TAs, Kara, Eric, Courtney, and Benjamin, who not only taught me immensely about teaching, commitment, dedication, but also have been consistently and overwhelmingly stellar in their presence and commitment to improve things in the face of great challenges. So you guys rock. And no, they also taught amazing courses for us. So, and these, you know, should be enough, but actually there were a whole other enormous group of wonderful people who helped me in my task. And first of all, I would like to acknowledge the GSS TAs for last year, who, when I asked them to help me think through ways to create a larger community, immediately responded to my call. Lauren, Kyle, Zach, Jachio, you are fantastic human beings, and I'm so fortunate to have had and still have your support and presence. All the graduate students who are part of the cluster have contributed immensely in so many ways that it would be hard to retell. And of course, the GSS executive and our board members have been amazing, ever present, ever generous. And I will just like to recognize Gregory. Sorry, I shortened your name just so that it would fit in the line. Gregory, don't take offense. And Hector, Josh, Casey, Nick, and Sekile especially have been always there for me to help, to guide, to read applications. And of course, all the people in the SPAN crowd, Elliot and Kathleen, who have been always and consistently generous and supportive, and everybody else really who has risen to the challenge. And of course, as we say goodbye, you know, in this virtual way, I'm constantly reminded of the fact that there is so much we don't know about the task we'll have to do. But you know, there is hope, even if it's hope of the difficult kind. And I just want to welcome with open arms into this fantastic community that we have, and we are so fortunate to have the new 4 GSS TAs, Ashley, Danielle, Eddie, and Enzo. I'm so honored and excited to have the chance to continue to work with you, which is the silver lining in Janesh not rejoining us in the fall, because I will continue in my position. So welcome to the 4 of you with open arms. And let me just say, let's look forward to the future, to being together. All the GSSers are invited to our last appointment for the year next week. And again, I just want to say, even though this has been to date the most difficult year of my life as a first generation university student, as a first generation immigrant, I just want to say thank you for all that you've done. And now I have allergies. I'm not crying. So thank you.
Thank you, Paula. I am crying. I also have allergies, but I'm also crying though. Well, thank you so much, and kudos to all our graduate students, and especially to our very beloved TAs. Well, now I'm going to invite Jan back to offer some closing remarks and acknowledgements. And I want to thank you for being with us today. And it was really great to see all your faces tiled across my screen. Jan?
Thanks, Tessie. I want to second the congratulations to our award winners, to our seniors, and say again how much you really create this community and how much we learn from you. We're very grateful for your presence here. It's my role to also express thanks to everybody else in this community who makes it go. As Paula said, it is a warm, wonderful community, and we're all happy, I think, to work together. I want to thank the members of the advisory board first for their service this year. Their willingness to devote their time to GSS, even while doing yeoman duty in their home departments, is what makes our program possible. Many of them are here today. The advisory board, in addition to the officers, includes Hector Carrillo, Josh Chambers-Letson, Nick Davis, Mary Dietz, Jelana Entine, Casey Evans, Jeffrey Maston, Jose Medina, Sikile Nzinga, and Orloff and Miriam Petty. I think I got everybody in there. So thank you all. We couldn't do what we do without you. I'd also like to express my thanks to SPAN and its co-directors, Hector Carrillo and Gregory Ward, for the critical role SPAN plays within gender and sexuality studies. We all benefit enormously from SPAN's energy, from its programming, including the many ways it provides financial support to faculty and students. We're especially grateful for its postdoctoral fellowship program, which brings to Northwestern every 2 years some of the finest young scholars working on gender and sexuality studies in the country today. I can testify to this because I've served on the selection committee, and it's one of the most impressive groups of people I've ever had the privilege to read about and their work. It's always an incredible group. We will be sorry to lose both Scott DiOrio and Tony Silva, who are completing their postdoc fellowship period now. Both of them have taught exciting and much appreciated courses. They've advised students, including theses, and made themselves key parts of our program. So thank you very much for your contributions, and we wish you both the very best in the future. I also want to express special thanks and appreciation to Amy Partridge, Associate Director of the program, to Tessie Liu, Director of Undergraduate Studies, and Paola Zamparini, Director of Graduate Studies. I know people say things like this all of the time, but the Gender and Sexuality Studies program is what it is right now as a result of their hard work. The program runs so smoothly and successfully, and it successfully attracts both undergraduate and graduate students to its courses because they labor long hours with great imagination to put together an intellectually challenging curriculum that is interdisciplinary, ethically and politically committed, and exploratory in the best, most exciting sense. I enjoy working with them, especially this year. Indeed, we have spent more time together on Zoom than you can imagine. And I'm profoundly grateful for their wise advice and wonderful collegiality. Thank you. Thanks to Amy, Tessie, and Paola for your tireless work on behalf of the program. I also want to extend my personal thanks to Nick Davis, Mary Dietz, and E. Patrick Johnson, all of whom have been on leave this year, but have still been enormously generous with their time and advice as GSS took on major tasks, which required challenging writing on my part. Nick, Mary, and Patrick, I'm profoundly grateful for your endless editing advice and general support. So thanks. Finally, I just want to say a little bit more about Elliot Cullen, our program assistant, and Casselyn Ostrander, program assistant for SPAN. Elliot is a wizard, a quiet, modest wizard, but a wizard nonetheless. Elliot manages a huge load of bureaucratic tasks with ease, is always one step ahead of the director, knows exactly who to contact when the rest of us are confused, keeps us attuned to the mood among our students, and supervises our work-study students with care and good cheer. Elliot also contributes substantively to all of our discussions, and we are grateful for the perspective they bring to the program. It's an enormous pleasure to work with you, Elliot. Thank you so much. Caslin, too, is an integral part of our program and performs all of the administrative work for SPAN, which, given SPAN's amazing reach, is considerable. She also assists Elliot and the GSS program on a number of different fronts and vigorously stepped in this spring as we moved to remote teaching. She provided expert technical advice and support to our faculty and TAs. So we thank you for all that, Caslin, and we're delighted to have you as part of our community. So that concludes our program today. We wish we could all go to another room for champagne toasts, wine and beer, and lots of good food and lots of conversation. Since we can't, though, in place of that, would you all unmute yourselves and join me in a loud round of cheers and applaud for our graduating seniors and award winners. Thank you all.
Oh. Yeah. Congratulations. Thank you.
Well done.